Don Staley, there's a couple interesting things here. She did an interview with Van Lathan and someone else over at The Ringer, and she talked about how she questioned God or the losing to Iowa in the Final Four semifinals made her question God. Let's play that clip.
The title of the book, Uncommon Favor, did that come from that interview and you talking with Holly Rowe, or was that always a personal mantra of yours?
I use that phrase when I can't explain what just happened. Because we lost the year before we won the championship. We lost to Iowa in the semifinals. And then that one hurt me really bad. Like it really, the failures hurt more than the victories.
Is that the toughest loss of your career?
Career?
Of your coaching career,
Yeah.
that loss to Iowa, because that was the Caitlin Clark
Yeah.
team. That's the toughest loss? Yeah.
Yes.
Why was that so hard?
Not for me, for my players.
For your players.
Like, we had a great team. We had a great team. They did all the right things. Great people, great competitors. So I wanted them to win. I wanted them to go off, with a bang. And when that didn't happen, they were hurt, and that hurt me. Like, that hurt me to my core. Now, it didn't hurt me enough to didn't think there was a God. But I did question, hey, why? I need to know why. I need to know why. But the answer to the why happened a year later. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Right.
So God left me on the why. And then followed it up, and I had no words besides it's an uncommon favor.
I think it was an uncommon humbling, and I think she's being slightly dishonest here. She can't be fully dishonest. She saw the original Iowa versus South Carolina game as a race war that she lost. These evil white people that are getting all this hype and all this attention, Caitlin Clark, and God's going to show the world that it's black women that dominate college basketball, and we deserve all the hype and praise. I don't think she can be completely honest here. She lost a race war, and it still bothers her, and she still can't understand why she lost that race war. Steve, your thoughts?
It's just the perpetual victimhood of these people. It's old. It's, for lack of a better term, it's fatiguing. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm making an assumption, South Carolina probably has more parade All-Americans or top 100 players on their roster than Iowa, right? Let's say that assumption's true. Miss Coach Staley, you should not question God. You should question your own coaching ability if that is the case. That if you lost to an inferior team, which Iowa seems to be, then maybe don't look at the man upstairs. As Michael Jackson would say, look at the woman in the mirror.
No question, South Carolina is a factory for great players, and they had far more talent. And Don Staley, again, I watched every drip of that, could see it come. No adjustments, can't really coach, and, wins with talent. And she got blown up on the bench by Lisa Bluter, who she tried to play the race card on leading up to that game. And again, that's why she got humbled and embarrassed, and probably Don Staley's most talented team ended up not winning the national championship because Don Staley's bigoted, and God wanted to show her the penalty for her bigotry. And again, I can't speak for God, and God had nothing to do with it. I apologize for saying that. I just don't like Don Staley, and so I've gone a little too far. I've apologized. TJ, your thoughts?
Yeah, that was when things were just starting for Caitlin Clark in a big way. Yeah. That was her junior year.
Yeah.
And so I think I watched part of that game or whatever. I think you told me they didn't double Caitlin Clark that whole game.
No.
They didn't run people at her. She ran around, shot threes all day, and they left her up. So as it relates to her losing faith in God over a basketball game, what sort of existence are you in here? You've built your life. How many national champions is she?
3.
Okay. And You lost to a team in whatever, is it Elite Eight or whatever it was?
That was a Final Four, semifinal.
There you go. Okay, you lose in the Final Four with a good team, and suddenly you don't believe in God. What?
Again, I wouldn't say her argument wouldn't be she didn't believe. She just questioned because again, she saw this, and this is her religious belief is that there's a big racial conflict going on. She doesn't believe there's a good versus evil conflict going on. She thinks there's a racial conflict, and she wrapped her team and herself in this racial conflict. She thinks Team Black is better than Team White, and that Team Black was going to prevail. And so her whole understanding of religious faith just got blown up.
So she thought this was the 1980 Olympics. This was us versus Russia, and we had to.
I would go. She thought it was. I don't know.
Western Texas against Kentucky.
Yes. They're
She thought she was
UTEP versus
the Black
Kentucky.
Bear.
Yes.
Donna Haskins.
Yes.
Give me a break.
Yes. That is.
And God's gonna help you win this race war by
Good grief.
winning a basketball game.
Yes, and and so here's the punchline to all of this: the WNBA is benefiting from this influx of Caitlin Clark fans watching the games. And so what do? What does CBS Sports do? Hey, we want a tip-off show, and we're going to make Don Staley and Renee Montgomery as the personalities on this tip-off show. We know how Don Staley feels about Caitlin Clark and her fans. We know how Renee Montgomery feels about Caitlin Clark and her fans. Renee Montgomery called out Caitlin Clark fans for being racist towards Angel Reese. These are the people that the WNBA and CBS are like, hey, they'd be perfect for the tip-off show. We got this influx of Caitlin Clark and women's basketball fans, and we want to have our tip-off show built around two women that have a problem with Caitlin Clark and her fans. Could you be any dumber than the WNBA and CBS, Steve?
No, but I think this is all intentional, and I'm going to repeat something I've said many times. The whole culture of the WNBA, which extends beyond the players and coaches. I'm talking about the media members, the podcasters, some of the alternate media, many of the fans, and the social media sphere. It's the most unlikable culture by far of any sport. That, along with the quality of play, I believe, contributes to the lack of interest and downright animus certain people have, or many people have in America, towards women's basketball and specifically the WNBA.
Well, I mean, Steve's 100% right. The TV partners are in on it. The WNBA is in on it. The NBA has to be in on it because they're funding the whole thing to create the group of most unlikable people in America. And I mean that. They spit in the face of everyone that tries to like them over and over. Hey, I'm new here. What's this all about? Shut up, you white idiot. Go back. You're the one who's destroying our sport, as though the sport existed at all before Caitlin Clark brought any of these fans.
How about, I don't want to make excuses, but just as a possibility, Kathy Engelbert, commissioner of the WNBA, Adam Silver, commissioner of the NBA, whoever's head is Sean McManus doesn't run CBS Sports. I can't remember who replaced him, but whoever does run CBS Sports. What if they're just afraid of the Don Staleys and the black women that will call you racist and the players that will call you racist if you don't show a little animus towards Caitlin Clark? What if the decision makers are held hostage by their fear of the angry black Karen women? Steve?
Well, they probably are. They need to get over it. I think the rest of America needs to boycott, make this the biggest boycott since the Birmingham thing with the buses. I was actually asked on a show, is it proper that Caitlin Clark fans will only watch Caitlin Clark? And my viewpoint is, well, given the circumstances involved, that a lot of people hate Caitlin Clark because she's white, yes, I think the Caitlin Clark fans are actually justified in boycotting every single other aspect of the WNBA to a point. of not watching a single minute of any game till she actually comes back on the court.
Steve, were Mike Tyson fans required to watch Trevor Berbick fights? And I don't even know if they crossed airs or whatever, but Mitch Green fights, Evander Holyfield fights. Are you required to do that as a Mike Tyson fan?
No, but there's a group of fans currently in boxing that if you don't like their fighters, they start running that racist label. They start whining and crying. But in general, boxing fans like boxing. And, you know, you have your preferences within that whole culture and that whole pool of talent. But I have noticed, and I've been labeled certain things just for telling the truth, but if you don't like a certain group of fighters, they start to label this. So I've seen this before. This is nothing new or completely that it only exists in the WNBA. It's not exclusive towards it.
David Burson is a guy you're looking for on CBS Sports who looks very white to me.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who could potentially be held hostage. Here's my question for you, because I would be trying to make some money, perhaps, if I were the CEO of CBS Sports and whoever else is in bed with them. How much say-so does the WNBA get in scheduling and things like that? Like, if you're like, hey, we're scheduling all the Fever games in prime time, and that's what it's going to be, and we're making, we have a pregame show, and we're dictating who's on here, not you. Does the WNBA get to dictate a ton of this?
Of course they do.
How much?
I mean, dictate, but yeah, incredible influence, yes. Of course, it's their league. It's promotion of their league. And Stephen A. Smith used to really want to be on NBA Countdown, but David Stern was against it, so it didn't happen. But yeah, they put together a schedule that put Caitlin Clark in a lot of primetime games to take advantage of it. But it's no different than what we're seeing with Nike. And, we'll probably circle back to this topic at some point later on. But again, Nike won't even put out a Caitlin Clark shoe, even though there's great demand for it, because they're afraid of pissing off Asia Wilson. And there's no demand for an Asia Wilson shoe. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your fearless friends.